with Thunder Breakdown.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome into Thunder Breakdown here, a post-game edition, as the Oklahoma City Thunder have officially tied up the series with the Indiana Pacers, 123-107. It was a methodical approach from the Thunder tonight, and headed back to Indy now for a finals game on the road. Man, there are so many things that are kind of just rolling around in my head right now as I think about tonight's performance. It's again that this team still finds ways after they lose and to build off of every opportunity to learn from failures, which is kind of a point of life, to learn off the failures that you have. And maybe we're making too much of that because it ultimately is just a basketball game. But this team still has not lost 2 games in a row. They bounced back tonight where we had multiple questions about what a heartbreaking loss that was in game 1. And they come through with flying colors again. And I have heard it referenced this way a multiple times through this playoff run, through others, is that you learn from the calluses that you have from playoff losses and playoff failures. And every single time, as Raven Ray joins us, this team has found a way to learn from that. And there have been times, Raven, where I think you even have heard me say this in the office. It's like, man, this team just says the same thing over and over and over again in every single playoff press conference. Mark Daigneault's like a broken record. The team's like a broken record. There's a reason for that. It's because they believe it, and none of what they're saying is false. They've taken every moment of adversity and turned it into a positive, and that's one of my main takeaways from tonight is throw everything out the window from game 1. Even with the awful things that happened to them and getting out-rebounded, only scoring 11 points off turnovers, they still lost that game by 1 point. You know, Caruso layup at the end of the first half goes the other way. This team's up 2-0 right now, but that's not the way that life works and not the way that basketball works. But yet here we are with a tremendous performance from them bouncing back again tonight. Did you have anything that you would like to add to that?
I thought you were gonna do the whole music and all of that, so I was like,
no, I've already done that, so we're good. I was like, man, I thought I did a pretty good job of setting that one on a tee for you.
Drop right there.
That's all right.
The other thing was the 40+ bench points going the other way this time. Whenever this bench has been so reliable this season. Last game, that's where the Thunder lost and was bench points, which was so surprising to me. And this time they get the 40+. So I like that.
And it's not just the overall points, it's the way in which they happened and the individuals in which they came from. So that was the most points that Aaron Wiggins has had since the Memphis series. Yeah. And there were times where he didn't quite get the number of minutes that we thought that he should be getting, not only through the playoffs but through the regular season. I said this during our halftime hangout it's like Wiggins is one of those guys that no matter what, he just seems to make things happen. And tonight was another incredible performance from him. And I saw someone go completely overboard on social media, I know, shocker there, and say like, well, Wiggins saved them in game 2. I don't know if he necessarily saved them. I think he was part of the catalyst to get them to a certain point is how I would say that.
Yeah, I feel like he definitely took the role that I assumed to Isaiah Joe a lot is getting that 3 ball off. You know, when Isaiah wasn't finding very many shots, I mean, Aaron's on the floor. Isaiah Joe also just didn't get the minutes that he had from game 1 tonight. Yeah. But, you know, Aaron Wiggins coming out with those 5 threes in the game is definitely something to look forward to in game 3.
Well, and it was everyone. You know, Caruso has an incredible performance.
13 points in 13 minutes at one point, I believe.
Yeah, and there have been multiple times this season that you look at one of the main reasons why he was brought here, and of course it's on the floor tenacity with how he guards people. But
Mhm.
to me, there's also one of the main reasons that probably doesn't get talked about enough, other than the time that he brought his 2020 ring in, and they were all saying like how incredible it was. A team like this needs a veteran leader that's been through multiple wars. Just because he
Mhm.
has a ring is an added bonus, but that guy has such an influence on that locker room and that roster that it probably doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion.
Mhm. Yeah, the other thing, did you see the graphic of, the past big three and the current big three, the ages of them and what they're at in their finals
Yeah,
careers from 2012 to 2024. So it's just, or 2025, it's like crazy. So,
I know. And we're sitting here talking like, that Caruso is a 40-year-old man. That's not the point I'm getting at. It's just that they're so young that the element that he brings to the table, I think, is very calming and has a
mhm.
positive influence on them. One stat I wanted to bring up that I saw this happened right before the game was over. Players now in NBA history to score 30 plus points in 9 straight home playoff games. There's two on that list. One of them is Will Chamberlain, 1961 through 1964, and the other is Shea Gilgeous Alexander in 2025. So anytime that you can join a group that includes Will Chamberlain, you know that you are doing something pretty incredible and another MVP type performance. As a matter of fact, he had 29, and I thought to myself, that can't be right. It feels like that he has
For,
probably closer to 40
yeah.
easily. And it was just another efficient, quiet night from SGA, something that we're pretty accustomed to.
Hmm. I agree. I noticed more of Dub's points than I did Shay's, just because I think I'm being a little harder on Jalen Williams,
Hmm.
J Dub, in this game today of if he's going to step up, and so I was really paying attention to his shots compared to Shay's because everybody knows he's going to hit those mid range almost every time. But yeah, it was a quiet 30 plus point game for him.
When we have a chance to go to the podium, we will. Typically, it is Mark that is up first, so we'll hear from Coach Daigneault as soon as he gets done with a few of his other responsibilities. We'll take you there as soon as we can. But Raven, I want to go and revisit what I wrote in terms of keys for the Thunder in Game 2 of the NBA Finals. The first key that I wrote earlier this morning was they must convert the live ball turnovers into points. They didn't do that in Game 1. They did a better job. That's not the reason they won. But number two of my point, 2 and 3, I think were probably the biggest ones. Two was the dual big lineup, which we talked about, which
Mm-hmm.
worked incredibly well tonight, especially considering how much that they got just their you know what taken care of on the boards, 56 to 39. But reintroducing that Hartenstein and Holmgren pairing provided them the size that they need. It helped their interior passing, the screen setting that fuels a lot of what they do from an offensive standpoint. Mark has always said that Hartenstein is the best screener that he's ever been around. Their absence contributed to just 13 assists in game one. That was not the case tonight at all, was it?
Mm-mm. No, I agree. I think I mean, like we said, he started out casing in the game, and I was like, I don't know. I guess he is going to go small, and then bringing those two out, like we said, there was kind of a spark there that happened where it kind of had Indiana a little bit frazzled at one point.
The third point that I had in my keys was you've got to unleash Chet Holmgren on both ends. Played just 23 minutes in game one, wasn't in foul trouble. He didn't see the floor in the final 3:30. Um, whether he's guarding Siakam with his length, asking him to try to stick with Miles Turner. By the way, he's done a very good job on Miles Turner in the past.
Hmm.
Holmgren, I said Holmgren needs 30 or plus more minutes to fully impact the game. I'll have to look. You might have the box score up if he got to 30 minutes tonight.
I
But
know. I think he was in the high 20s.
okay, so close to it. But more Chet time on the floor should help them find an offensive rhythm and also stabilize their interior defense.
Hmm.
And I, Chet was probably, to me, if you had to pick one of the biggest players of the game for just overall impact outside of Wiggins and SGA, it'd be Chet Holmgren to me.
Hmm. Hmm. I agree. And the big block that happened on the other end for him, and this like being able to get the defensive stops that we know he can. I mean, you didn't see that like we said in the first game, and then being able to show that length this time definitely helped. The offensive boards I thought helped in the second half as well.
4 was the half court offense kind of sputtered. They really got out and ran a lot tonight. Looked more Thunder like. And 5 was you got to finish strong at the rim and make
Mhm.
better decisions in traffic. So I think all 5 of those they came through with flying colors tonight, in which they needed to bounce back from a team that's as capable as what Indiana is.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
All right, we'll take some of your chat questions as well if you're tuning in. We apologize. No, we are not David Payne and we are not the weather crew at all. So I just need to say that completely off the bat here. We're talking about the Thunder tonight. Jay checked in and said, good win. Have to play all 48 minutes with Indy, all game, every game. I saw so many people making comments like that on social media that it's so funny the juxtaposition between Indiana fans and Indiana media compared to Oklahoma City, because every Thunder fan was saying like this 18-point lead feels like it's only like 5. Like
Yeah.
they're making me nervous. And yet Indiana media members were saying, yeah, this game's over. This game's been this game's been over for probably since midway through the third quarter. Interesting observation there from both of them. But did you get that sense that maybe we're still kind of hanging on to a little bit of the I don't know, the game one hangover effect that we had from blowing a 15-point lead?
I got that when they checked out the big three at the end when it was a 17-point lead. I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I was like, anything could happen in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. I literally thought that. I was like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's absolutely crazy. Let's see a few more of these because I did a bad job during halftime to make sure I didn't check the chat. Even though most people want to see David Payne, that's fine. Andy says, good to see Wiggins go off tonight. Great momentum heading into Indy. And also another one of these says it was raining threes. Yeah, it was. It absolutely was.
So so I wonder, I've been thinking about this, like if Mark went small just these first two games, if at any point he's gonna go back big.
Well, we kind of got into a little bit of that. I say we, but in our pregame pod that I do every pregame with Steve, I think Steve brought up a good point, and it happened again tonight. So he starts Caruso. He does start smaller, but Steve's point was, do we put too much emphasis on who starts and who doesn't, especially when it comes to the small and big lineup? And I
No, but
think
I see the Thunder whenever they get to a really hot start in the first. If we're up if they're I say we're if they're up 21 to like 9. Like I've seen a lot of those scores whenever they've had these 5 out there against in these playoff games. Like that hasn't really been the case in these last two. They've been back and forth the first few minutes. I don't know. I don't know if that's just a dynamic of like the regular 4 are just used to playing with Hartenstein, getting out there quick and knowing their roles immediately, because they don't practice as much. They have one practice between these games and it's like shoot around. It's not a whole lot of, like they know the plays now. You don't have to sit there and go through it. So it's like, is there a dynamic shift every time there's a different 5? And I feel like no, they're professionals. They do what they do, but maybe the fast starts are a little different when you start Caruso, Case, and Wallace.
well, and it might be the case now. The impact that they had with the two bigs on the floor, maybe we might see that at least start off the game in 3 now. Or Mark sometimes likes to roll with what's working, so it's kind of hard to argue with what worked tonight. I had the numbers. I do have to give a shout out to Jared Durbin who put these numbers together. His last night in basketball Substack is tremendous, and I stole these numbers from him. This was going into the series, just on the double big lineup. Minutes with neither Holmgren or Hartenstein, the Oklahoma City Thunder had over 1,790 minutes without those two on the floor. Now, some of these are skewed because Chet was hurt, right? Minutes with both on the floor was 316. Minutes with only iHeart was over 1,200. Minutes with only Holmgren was 560. Then you get into the playoffs and the splits. You know, before the series started, they had already put up 201 minutes together, which is why it was so odd not seeing that combination happen until the first quarter of tonight's game. By the way, that's a plus 3.9 net rating. Only Holmgren on the court is a plus 19 for them. And I think we saw a little bit more of that tonight. So those are just the specific numbers that we saw from those lineups. Hey, real quick, let's see if we can't head to the podium right now and hear from Mark Daigneault, as I have to again produce live and on the fly here right now. And I believe we can take care of that right
There's a
now.
variance
We can
element
hear it.
to every NBA game in this NBA, but certainly in the games that they play. And I just thought we were the aggressor tonight for much of the game, even when we had a lead. I thought the guys did a really good job of keeping the foot on the gas, especially defensively. I thought we really amped it up on that end of the floor. There's a couple times where we got off track on both ends, but we were able to course correct pretty quickly. So I thought the guys did a really good job of just recognizing when we weren't where we needed to be and getting there quicker.
Joe up front.
Joe Masato, the Oklahoman. Mark, what'd you think of Aaron Wiggins and just the spark he gave you guys off the bench and the rest of those bench guys as well?
Yeah, I mean, they were huge tonight. He was huge tonight. I give him a lot of credit because he was a huge part of our success this season. And in the playoffs, his role's been variant night to night, but he hangs in there. I mean, he was huge in the Game 4 win at Denver in that series, and he was massive tonight. Went in there with great confidence, didn't go until the second quarter, and just dove right into the game. So great professionalism, great readiness, and a huge performance for us, in that situation.
Jenny.
Mark, Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. Obviously, there was a stretch there in the fourth where Tyrese kind of gets going, but you guys through 3+ just really held him in check. It seemed like he maybe wasn't getting the ball to teammates, wasn't rebounding maybe as much as he did in the first game. Was that part of maybe keeping him at bay as long as you did? What'd you like about your defense on him?
Yeah, I mean, they're not the type of style where you're just like keying on one player, just because of the way they play. And so they're a more conceptual team, and you have to be kind of a conceptual defense against them. And if you do that, I think it has a downstream effect on everybody against them. And so I thought we were able to do that tonight. I thought, like I said to Nick's question, the guys just really improved in a lot of like subtle areas, from game 1 to game 2, which is what you have to do in a playoff series to stay ahead of the series.
Barry over here, second row.
Yeah, Barry Trammell, Tulsa World. You played your bigs differently today in terms of the rotation. What'd you like about the way Chet and Isaiah played separately and together?
They were both really good in both situations. I thought both of them gave us huge lifts on both ends of the floor. That was one area where we improved tonight, was our pick and roll coverage against their bigs. They're a different look because of the rolling, the popping, just the way they play. And I thought one area that we really improved was on the defensive end in that area of the game, and they both were great. I thought Chet in particular, he obviously had a rough offensive night in game 1. As always, he rose back up and was really, really good.
Fred
Katz from The Athletic. I'm curious how you felt like your offensive process changed from game 1 to game 2, and specifically in just getting into your sets a little earlier. It seemed like you guys were a little more urgent getting into sets earlier in the clock, and how you feel like that affected you guys offensively today.
Yeah, they're a very distinct team. They're not just like a vanilla team. They play a very distinct style. It's part of their effectiveness. And it's both ends of the floor. They have an offensive reputation. They've been kind of branded as an offensive team, but they have a defensive identity as well that's predicated on pressure and perimeter physicality. And I just thought in a lot of areas it'd be easy to just say that one thing looked better tonight, but that would be oversimplifying. I think we were just a little bit better in a lot of different areas of execution, of pace, to your point, organization, decision-making in the paint, aggressiveness at the basket, gathering the ball. We just were a tick forward in all those areas.
On your right, Sam in the front.
Sam Amick, The Athletic. Mark, with Shea, after game 1, there was some discussion that it was a bad 38-point game, which probably speaks volumes about what he's capable of. And then you look at tonight, but speak to the bigger picture. All playoffs long, 36-5. He's kind of creeping up the history charts when it comes to the impact and his ability to meet this moment.
Yeah, unsurprising at this point. It's just kind of what he does. He just continues to progress and improve and rise to every occasion that he puts himself in and that we put ourselves in. And I thought, his floor game tonight was really, really in a great rhythm. I thought everyone played better individually, and I thought we played better collectively, and I thought that was just a byproduct. I give the team a lot of credit because that's a long 48 hours when you lose game one like that, coming into game two. And the guys did a great job of just focusing on what we needed to do to stack to a win tonight, and that's how we got it. So that was individual players, collectively, offense, defense, everything.
Dan over here on the third row on the left.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. Along those same lines, Jalen, 19 points, 5 of 14 shooting, but the impact overall seemed to be here from them. I'm just wondering what you're seeing in terms of the shots he's getting, and then his overall floor game, the impact of that.
Yeah, he didn't get off to like a great start in his first stint, and then he really settled into the game, and he's huge for us. I mean, it's, all the things he brings to the game, defensively, size, versatility, physicality, offensive, on ball, off ball, that floor is really high. Like we really need him every single night. And when he has the great offensive nights, then he's unbelievable. But he's a great player independent of that. And I thought he was a great player tonight. He was another guy. He took a nice step forward. I think we all just kind of calibrated to our opponent. But you have to continue to improve in a series. I mean, they're going to go home, be very comfortable. They play very well there in these playoffs. And so if we don't continue to improve, then, we'll get caught behind them.
Michael down left.
Mark, Michael Grange from Sportsnet Toronto. I think Shea had 6 assists assists to 6 different players for 3, and fairly critical game, obviously. And what does it say about the kind of trust that exists between him and vice versa in a situation like this, that he's willing to get off the ball and let other guys kind of step up and help?
Yeah, I mean, that's been a mark of his whole season. I think that's an area, the scoring and the efficiency obviously gets a lot of shine, but he's really steadily improved as a playmaker, and he's been doing that for a long time. I thought in game one, like I said, it was as much to do with us calibrating to the opponent and the style, which was very different from really what we've seen in these playoffs. And I thought we did a good job of that tonight. But again, we have to continue to evolve in the series. Indiana's going to do that, and we need to do that individually and collectively.
John in the middle.
Yeah, John Hollinger from The Athletic. Mark, even while keeping the same starting lineup, it seemed as you got into your bench, you stayed much bigger at the 2, 3, 4 than you were in game one, and I was wondering what went into that decision.
Yeah, I mean, just the feedback from game one, like we had regular season games that, we studied their games leading into this, and then we threw out what we threw out in game one. I thought there were a lot of good things in that. I also thought we could push, a little bit in terms of size tonight, obviously, with the way that we went. So, it takes discipline, but we try to really use these early games in the series to learn, what our options are and what our trade-offs are, and not assume anything. And that was the intent tonight, is just to get a little bit more information. Now we have it. We'll apply that as we move forward in the series.
Last question in the back center.
Daniel Bell, BSO. Yeah, Mark, compared to game one, defense seemed a little different. Not as many turnovers. Can you just talk about the differences between game one and tonight with the physicality, point of attack?
Our defense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some of that's Indiana. There's 2 teams out there, and obviously when teams play against us, they understand that taking care of the ball is critical. And so I thought game one, first half was probably an outlier. And then I do think, when we play smaller, we tend to be a little bit more of a turnover defense. And when we play bigger, we have other strengths. And so it's a combination of things. But I thought overall, every look we threw out tonight, the guys did a great job with.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep, thank you.
Well, there you have it. There's the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Mark Daigneault, with some of his comments, and I thought very poignant, but also very basic at the same time, Raven, when he just said, there's a lot of things I just think that we did a little bit better tonight. And, yep, I think that was dead on the money type of comments from Mark Daigneault, who's got to feel really good that some of the strings that he was able to pull and what they learned from game one ended up being the difference tonight for game two. And I put this question up here on the stream that was from Java Coolman. Do you think we play better with the 2-man big lineup? Mark kind of touched on that there at the very end. I don't know what type of adjustments that Indiana will have for game number 3 and how they decide that they want to attack that. I do know that statistically, Indiana has been okay against double bigs this year. They've just really struggled on the boards. So that may continue to be an issue. But the reason why I think Mark went with a smaller lineup in game 1 is because Indiana was just a little bit hotter from outside. This is a much more perimeter-based team than what Oklahoma City has played through the course of the playoffs so far. And they were just hot in game 1, hitting multiple threes in big moments. Tonight they hit, I think, 4 or 5 less total, but the game was already completely out of reach, even there towards the end when they started knocking a couple of those down that really didn't have any type of impact on the game whatsoever.
Yeah, less turnovers for them in this game than last game, but the Thunder convert on these turnovers this game as well as just making shots this game. The Thunder, I feel like there were so many easy buckets from game 1 that they missed that this time they went in, and I feel like that's where the point differential happened compared to the close game with Indiana making those mistakes.
Defensively, I thought when Halliburton drove tonight, every single, like, the lane was walled off. The rim was too. When he passed, there were active hands. They deflected, and that deflected action means that you've got to create a little bit more for your teammates. I think the stat line probably looks a little bit better for Halliburton when it's all said and done, but still had a tough time taking care of the basketball, and then also being forced that way to try to get your teammates involved. This will not be one that goes in the books for a guy that's had a tremendous run so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, I do want to mention a couple of turnovers though, like weren't even really from the Thunder slapping at the ball, like the walk call, the backcourt call. There was several times I thought he walked and there was no call, but he does not like the pressure, and when he does, he turns it over.
Yeah, the Pacers finished 14 of 40 from 3. And I did see a stat on that with their time in the playoffs, because it kind of correlates to if they score 110 points, they're undefeated in the playoffs. So, yeah, here they are. When the Pacers make 15 or more threes, they're 8-0 this postseason. When they don't, they are 5-5. And they came up just a little bit short tonight, but 14 of 40. Like, that's just not going to get it done against Oklahoma City, even though they allow a very large volume number of threes.
Agreed.
Anything else that we haven't touched on stand out to you that you were impressed with tonight?
Miles Turner in the third quarter. I think he had like quick like first 8 points, I believe, something like that. I mean,
yeah.
And I wanted to touch on that at halftime, that I thought Miles was probably going to come out and turn up the heat. He's one of the veteran players, just like Caruso is for the Thunder. He is somebody that can take it into his own hands in a way with Pascal. But those two were the ones I feel like that got the job done for themselves, but Miles especially in those first couple of minutes coming out in the second half.
All right, so here's a question. How do the Thunder capitalize on this win for the next game? I mean, momentum's a thing. You got to feel good that you're able to get one, and you never want to be in that situation where you're down 0-2, because we know what the stats look like in a series like that. But I don't know. I know where you're going with that question, but this team is a little bit different to me with just how, again, they've been even, calm, cool, collected the entire way through. I think they were going to be confident heading up there no matter what they are, but yeah, they got to feel like that the adjustments that they made kind of got them back to a little bit of a better version of Thunder basketball.
I am confident. I can say for sure they will steal one game. They will steal one game out of the two on the road. And then when they come back, it could be a 2-2. It could be it could steal both, or they lose both, and we got a 3-1 coming back.
Yeah, Indiana's been great on the road for the most part in the playoffs. They've been okay at home, but by no means an area where they've played to a level that you feel like that they're unbeatable. So yeah, I do think that Oklahoma City can go in and get one of these. A few
Fouls could
others.
be a thing. Fouls could. That's where the Thunder. I feel like they've been able to get a lot of their stars in foul trouble in these playoffs. They need
Yep.
to do more of that.
SGA in game 2 of the last 3 series versus Denver, 34-4-8 versus Minnesota, 38-3-8, and now versus Indiana, 34-5-8. It's as it says, it's a very interesting pattern where he really looks for his shot in game 1 and then finally kind of settles into a series and is the just over the top efficient player that we see during the regular season.
He definitely is one that he likes to just watch. He likes to analyze what they're giving him, and because he can do it all. I mean, you've seen it. He can be in the corner in a corner 3 and step off his back foot and shoot a fadeaway 3 and make it. And same thing with mid range. Same thing inside. I mean, he can make any shot that somebody gives him. He's just got to figure it out, like you said in that game 1.
The elite company that he's joined, I brought up the Will Chamberlain stat a little bit earlier. So now he scored 72 points through the first 2 games of the finals. That's the most points ever by a player in his first 2 career NBA Finals games. Previous high was 71 by AI in 2001 in the Lakers series. And now he has joined Michael Jordan and LeBron James, most games with 30 points and 5 assists in 11 games. All of them had 11 games. So Shea's done it this year in 25. LeBron did it in his first 11 games in 15, 17, and 18. And Jordan did it in 11 games in 1989 and 1990. Truly, like, early stage of his career is setting himself up for, like, we're talking about like all-time great type numbers here.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. They've always said, is LeBron the real GOAT, or is it still MJ? Is it now going to be SGA is the GOAT to MJ? Is there going to be debates on that now?
I mean,
and how many years will it take down the road?
What he's doing at 26, I mean, think about that. We just ran off 3 incredible numbers that I think we take it for granted sometimes, of like, we're just here because it's so automatic.
Yeah.
Like it's automatic for us in this state when we think about it, to see what he accomplishes night in, night out. And then he gets on a stage like this and starts to get the coverage that he truly deserves, that the team truly deserves. And it's almost like, well, yeah, you dummy, we've been seeing this every single night. Like, why haven't you like noticed that before now?
Yeah. And Shay mentioned that early on in the season, they were, getting covered on the local stuff, and then at one point in a broadcast, one of the guys said, "Oh, we've got a game on Friday." He's like, "Oh, that's the nationally televised one, huh? The one that they want us on." Like, he notices when they finally get recognized nationally. I kind of picked up on that early on in the season.
We're waiting to see who else is going to be sent to the podium. We've kind of had a little gap here. Typically, it's Shea after he follows Mark, or at least that's been the pattern so far. Sometimes we'll get J-Dub before, but Mark went to the podium. We heard from him a few moments ago. We'll try to get you one more player before we say adios for the evening. So just kind of taking a little peek to see what's happening right now. They got the Gatorade bottle set up, Raven, so making sure we get all the sponsors taken care of.
Have you seen the video of Dub trying the Gatorade while Shay's drinking it?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty funny. So Shay's drinking it, and I guess Dub's like, "Oh, we can drink these," and so he grabs it. And he smells it, and he's like, and then he takes a little sip, and then he doesn't know. He's kind of like, I don't know, and then takes another one. He was like, okay, and puts it back down. Like, you know how Dub's personality is.
Well, let's head to the podium now and hear from SGA after another incredible performance in game 2.
For your team and how you want to attack them or go about the game plan, but you have to lock in and stay focused. And even tonight, we've had some moments of slippage. Now, you're not going to be perfect out there ever, but it goes without saying, like, to make it this far into the season, it's going to take supreme level of focus to reach the ultimate goal. And they're a display of that to the highest form. Like, they play a full 48 minutes, and you can't just throw the first punch. You got to try to throw all the punches all night. And yeah, that's what we did. We threw enough punches tonight to get a W.
Joe, next.
Joe Masato, the Oklahoman. Shea, what do you think of the minutes that Aaron Wiggins gave you guys off the bench and just his shot making in this one?
Yeah, big time. He, it's impressive to me. Like, he's been exactly who he's been all year throughout the playoffs. Like, sometimes he gets 20 minutes, sometimes he gets 2 minutes, sometimes he gets 10. Like, it's all over the place, and no matter what, he finds a way to impact winning for us. And you need it in the biggest moments. No one-man show can win you an NBA championship. And for him to rise to the occasion and just be who he's been in the biggest moment of his basketball career is it's pretty gutsy. Says a lot about the competitor and the man he is. So hats off to Wiggs.
Dan over here on the left.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. First quarter, pretty tight, only a couple of possessions separation. Then you go off on that big run in the second quarter. I think it was 19-2. What did you see? What was going on during that run to allow you to establish that separation? And did that kind of feel like you guys play into your identity, maybe more than you were able to in game 1?
Yeah, we got stops. We ran. We capitalized on our opportunities. We just strung it together. And I think we strung it together more often than we did in game 1 tonight, especially on the defensive end of the floor.
We're going to go Nick. Mike's coming over.
Shea, I just want to ask you about the offense overall, 25 assists, and it just seemed like you had some of those ball movement plays that we've seen all season long, and why you were able to get to more of that tonight.
Every night me personally, you try to attack the defense and try to just like make the right play. You try to make them pay for what they throw at you, coverage-wise, scheme-wise. And I think tonight, myself for sure, did a better job of attacking it. But as a whole, we did a better job of attacking it. We were a little bit sticky last game, but you have games like that. It sucks to be on this stage and have games like that, but it is what it is. It's where we are, right? It's where our feet are, and all you can do is try to be better for the next one. And I've said that over the past couple of days, and I think we did a good job of that on both ends of the floor.
Second row on your right.
Shea, Guilherme Sacco from ESPN Brazil. Game 1 was loud, but today it was loudest. As a Brazilian, I think that it's the closest that you can have to a South American soccer crowd. How much of a factor does they play on your wing?
Yeah, it helps a lot. It feels like throughout the whole playoffs, the crowd has found a way to get louder every game. I don't know how they do it. But yeah, it's special to be able to play in front of them. It honestly, like, it makes the road games a little bit easier because it feels like it's almost not as loud as it's been at home. So yeah, they're special, the best fans in the world.
Fred over here on the left.
Fred Katz from The Athletic. Shea, getting back to the offense, it seemed like you guys really made an effort to kind of get into your sets earlier in the clock and get into that pacing more. How much of a sticking point was that for you? And if so, how helpful was that in just kind of being able to run the offense how you guys normally do?
I'm not too sure. That wasn't like something that we try to emphasize going into the game. But I think we just had a better flow to us tonight offensively, more in rhythm. And I think that is definitely a product of it. You give yourself more time through a possession, you can work it more. Not something we tried to specifically do, but stuff like that definitely helps, the little things.
Fourth row on the right.
Valencia King, Real Talk Sports. Shea, I heard you mention having an extreme level of focus tonight. As you guys head into Indiana, I know the word momentum gets tossed around a lot. Is there a momentum that you can carry over, or is it a reset?
Every game's a reset, especially at this stage in the season. a series looks so different. We've had a series where we lost the game and won the next one by 40. We've had a series where we won 2 in a row by 20 and then lost the next one by 40. So it's like every game's a reset. And basketball reminds you of that. It's very humbling. It shows you that if you don't stay in the moment, if you don't come ready to play, no matter who you are, no matter what you just did, you can get beat and beat pretty bad. And we've learned those lessons, so we should be ready to go.
Michael and Sam, last two on the right.
Shay, Michael Grange, Sportsnet, Toronto. I mean, what does it say that in a game that's pretty much a very crucial win to get, that I think you had 6 different assists to 6 different three-point shooters, and you know, that you were so willing to rely on your teammates in a situation like this?
The way I see it, I have no choice. No one-man show achieves what I'm trying to achieve with this game. All the stats and the numbers, they're fun, but I don't play in space as much as I do without having them out there. I don't get open as much as I do without having the screeners out there, whether it's a slide out or a set. Like, those guys are the reason why we're as good of a team as we are, and I just add to it. So the way I see it, I had no choice. They were ready for the moment, as I knew they would be, and they performed.
Sam, last question, front right.
Sam Amick, The Athletic. Shay, your 72 points in the first 2 games is an all-time high for a player in his first 2 finals games. Allen Iverson had 71. How does that hit you? And beyond your scoring, because that's not the end of your game, just how do you feel like you are meeting this moment on the final stage?
I'm being myself. I don't think I tried to reinvent the wheel or step up to the plate with a different mindset. Just try to attack the game the right way, and I think I've done a pretty good job of that so far. Now, I would trade the points for 2 W's for sure, but you know, this is where our feet are, this is where we are, and you can't go back in the past. You can only try to make the future better, so that's what I'm focused on. Absolutely.
Thank you, Shay.
All right, the MVP with some comments afterwards, and can't say it any better than that's just Shay being Shay. And he handles his business and goes about it with the same level-headed approach, night in, night out. Anything that he say there stayed out to you at all?
No, it's the same thing the team's been saying the last few weeks. There's no one-man show. They've all been saying that they've been so humble in the locker room. We talked about this, you know, with Chet saying that last week in the media days about how they've all been humble enough to know that they're 17 winners in that locker room. And the MVP says it as well. There's no one-man show, and he credits the team, the screeners, to get him the points that he's got.
Well, the series evened up at 1 and headed off to Indiana. Should be fun to see how this team responds after a win when they go on the road for the very first time in a very hostile environment that they have created up in Indiana. And if it's anything like the first 2 games, we know that we're probably going to be in for a couple of surprises and a couple of very tense moments, even when the Thunder are up by 15 points. It seems to have everyone clutching their pearls, just knowing that the big run from Indiana is happening. Good stuff, Raven. Appreciate you for staying up with us here on Postgame, and thank you to everyone as well for tuning in. And thank you to everyone there on the digital side back
Watch
at
the
News
Blitz
9.
for all Thunder coverage coming up.
No doubt, for helping us make sure that we get through this evening and have some podium audio as well. And as Raven said, hey, make sure that you flip over to News 9 and News on 6 in Tulsa for the Blitz that's coming up. You'll hear insight from John Holcomb, John Holcomb, Dean Blevins, and also Steve McGeehee. We're inside the arena tonight over at Paycom, and we'll break down the latest for you coming up here in just a few short minutes. Remember, hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, and we'll see you during game number 3 coming up this week as Oklahoma City and Indiana tied up at a game apiece in the NBA Finals for Raven Ray. My name is Jeremy Poplin. Want to thank everyone for tuning in this evening. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow. And don't forget about the websites, news9.com and newson6.com as well, for all the latest with the Oklahoma City Thunder playing in the NBA Finals.
Thank you for watching this Oklahoma's own digital studio stream. Stay with News 9, online and on television, anytime for the latest news, weather, and sports.